was recently contacted by Grabie, I'm not for sure how you say it, Grabie company, and they have all kinds of fun art and craft supplies, journaling supplies, stationery, stickers, things like that, for a economical price. And they asked if they could send me some items to review, and I chose the acrylic paint pens because I love paint pens, and that's something I use a lot and in a lot of different ways. So I thought that or different settings. I use them in journals, art journals, in my artwork. Lots of different things you can do with paint pens. So I said sure. So they've arrived in the mail. And here they are. It's a set of 36. And it says marks on anything. They're water-based. And there's quite a variety of colors. I thought it would be a fun way to maybe get some colors that were different than what I'd had. So I use Posca paint pens a lot. Well, I use any paint markers, but Poscas are something that I have used a lot. So I'm going to kind of take a look at these, and I have a nice little reusable storage container. I do like that to keep them in. A nice sturdy cardboard box. I'm also going to save this sticker. I'm going to try to. Yeah, that'll work. Save this little label for my journal. Okay, so then each marker is individually wrapped. So I think I'll look and see if there's some colors that are maybe a little bit different than things that I have. This green is fun. There's a dark green. I really like this blue. There's fun violet color. It's very different. I guess I should just pick one. Need some scratch paper here to get it going, because I assume, like most markers, so it has a bullet tip. And just, oh, the ink comes, or the paint comes very quickly. Yeah, so far so good. And try a pink. I have to say I am very pleased with the color selection. There's a lot of colors to choose from here. Okay, the first test I'm doing is with water and paintbrush and mixing these two colors together as you saw. And I'm using it on my Tomoe River paper in a hobonichi notebook because I just want to get a feel how it would work in my journals, and like if I want to use these on my daily pages and just how I might use them, and just seeing how they blend and what they do on that paper. Now I'm trying them directly from the pen onto the paper. I'm making marks on top of where I did the kind of wash using the blended paints, and just kind of seeing how the size of the tip, how it reacts, how smoothly the paint flows, how it goes on the paper. So far, I have to say I'm pleased with all of the above. I just remembered that I need to check the bleed through real quick, and it goes but does not bleed through the Tomoe River paper, so that is definitely a plus. Now I'm pulling out my altered book art journal, and I'm going to test how it is. Most of the paper that I have in here, or that I've glued into here, is kind of slick pages, so I'm going to see how it works on slick paper. Not all not all paints work all that well on slick paper, so, and this is a place where I would be very likely to use paint pens, so that's the next thing I'll be checking out. The pens all seem to be pretty consistent in that they're very quick and easy to start. Like, I just shake them up and apply some pressure to the point, and the paint flows into the point right away, which is nice. I'm not a very patient person, so it's nice to not have to pump them a bunch of times to get the paint down, so that also is a plus for me. I'm pulling out a Stabilo pencil just to get the... So I'm using a Stabilo pencil on this slick paper to kind of sketch in some trees. I glued in this bit out of a magazine about John Muir, and I am wanting to do some negative painting, so I am marking in trees just freehand, but to give me a guide to use my markers. So I chose this beautiful kind of teal blue color that I'm using to paint in the negative spaces. And since there are some kind of larger spaces, I'm actually using a paintbrush to blend out that paint. And that's an advantage of working on the slick surface, is that you can just lay down some paint. You have a little bit of working time before it dries, and you can just take some water and blend that out, and it's more of a traditional painted look if you don't want the more graphic look of just using the markers alone. Now I'm pulling out this dark gray to add some shading, kind of using the same technique. So I just draw a line of that dark color and then use a brush to kind of blend it out into the blue paint area, and it just gives a blended, shaded look. And these pens seem to cooperate great with that once they're dry, they are don't reactivate. That blue underneath is no longer activating, but while wet, you can blend those paints out. So now I'm flipping to a different page, picking out a couple other colors to play with, and I'm just kind of using them, straight as markers doing a little doodling and detail work as I like to do. This is a spread where I just glued on a bunch of different images and kind of an exotic look, and so I'm just adding a little detailing with my marker. So I'm pretty happy with using these on these slick pages in my altered book journal. The paint is very juicy, it flows freely. I had chosen the medium tip point and it works quite well. But now I want to try it in my regular sketchbook, on my sketchbook paper, and see how that works. So I have some illustrations that I had drawn up for my patrons, and I'm just going to use those to see if I can do a little coloring in on those and see how that works. I had trouble with the bullet nib being small enough to get the really detail areas, so I had to pull out my paintbrush to help out with that. They do have a fine tip set though also, which I didn't get. So, you know, if I wanted to have the fine tip markers, they certainly have those available as well. I'm trying to do a little blending here. It's a little bit trickier because this paper is more absorbent than the last paper I used, but nevertheless it does still blend as long as you work quickly while it's still wet. You saw me use my finger to kind of smudge the two colors together a little bit. You could also use a paintbrush. So that did blend pretty nicely. I do notice if I work too much, like if I overwork it, get too much of the paint on there because it is fairly wet, the paper will tend to start, you know, degrading, and kind of little paper balls start forming as the paper breaks down. But as long as you don't like work over it too much, I don't think that's a problem. This is just the Moleskine sketchbook, so not, you know, like watercolor paper or anything special like that. It's a very smooth paper, but it is a little bit absorbent. It works much better on the paper when I'm just doing this straight, direct, you know, one stroke coloring in like I'm doing here. The paper holds up fine for that. It doesn't hold up as well when I'm, you know, overworking it. But that's more of an issue of the paper than the markers. So as you can see, I'm a big paint marker fan, and I use them a lot. I have used a variety of brands. I am a big fan of the Posca paint pens, but I will say that if you're looking for an inexpensive option, then, you know, these are something to consider, because these are just under $40 for 36 different pens. They seem to work fine. I'm not sure how full they are, but then you can't really tell on these other ones either. Like they seem to only be about half full of paint, but that could well be true of these too. You just can't tell. So they seem size-wise, they're a little bigger than the medium tip. Actually, this is the fine tip. Let me find the medium tip. Oops. These others, pretty close to actually the Posca paint pen. I believe this is the medium size. So the tip's pretty comparable. Let me, oh, I do have this leaking a little bit here. I was waving it around. I'm not a big fan of that. These are dripping, so you do have to keep them upright in this box. Like these, size-wise, these are very juicy, which is good if you can, I guess, keep them under control. So I don't know if you can tell, these are a little wetter, which can be good because of the leaking. Let me see if that's, maybe it was just that one. They are very juicy, which is, you know, I mean, that's what you want, as long as they're not like getting out of control. So size-wise, they're very comparable with the medium size Posca paint pans. The Posca, however, run, I just looked up, they're, a set of 8 of those is about $34. Sometimes you can get them cheaper. Where these, the set of 36 on Grabie is under $40. So, you know, if you're wanting something economical, I think that this is the way to go. However, I don't know, this one seems to be fine. So maybe it was a fluke that the other one was leaky. Or maybe that's something where you need to just kind of keep them upright. But I do think they're a good option for the price. So I will say that I'm pretty happy with how they work and the quality of the paint in them, the size, all of that is pretty good. They do have a fine tip set also, if you would rather have a fine tip set. So I guess all in all, if you are looking to expand your paint marker or don't have any and like to have a big range of colors for not too bad a price, then I do think that these are worth a try. So I will put a link down below of where you can get these, and thank you Grabie for sending these to me, and hope you enjoy it and hope found this helpful. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. One last note, I thought I'd include the mission statement of Grabie here for you.